Hey guys, Not Gun here. Welcome to the video. I just wanted to go ahead and do a quick build guide and map showcase of my Gladiator Ward Static Strike cast on Ward Break character. I'll do a quick summary and then I'll go a little bit further into detail after the map showcase here, but the main idea of this build is we're using Gladiator for the Lucky Block along with the Zodi Crest to get triple lucky. This gives us a functional 98% spell and attack block after we have blocked recently, so we do have 75% block chance for the first initial hit, and then once we get a block in, then every block after that will be essentially 98% chance to block. So our hits are pretty well covered there. Anything that does get through block, we have this huge ward to block for. We're using our last 4 ascendancy points in the Allroth tree here to go ahead and grab this one here. Makes it so small hits don't make our ward disappear, which is really good because with the way our build works, we are going to be jumping on enemies, and if they are to hit us and do tiny chip damage and make our ward go away before we can attack, then we won't get the added damage from our keystone over here. That gives us damage on attack based on our ward. So this ascendancy is really nice. The other node that we take over here, the 50% less damage taken from damage over time, really solves one of Ward's biggest weaknesses. Typically with a smaller life pool like this, any kind of damage over time mitigation is really strong, especially since we have so much hit-based defense. We also have a Mortal Call in here to help with dots and hit damage, so just having any extra dot mitigation is really nice. So that was just a no-brainer there. I did mess around with ward shatter since we are breaking our ward a lot. I figured it might be good, and I just can't make it work too well. Even scaling like generic biz or spell damage, it doesn't seem to work too great. There might be a build with it maybe in the future, but with the setup that I have here, it just didn't work too well, so we're leaving that one. But that is the idea of the character here. I'm going to go ahead and just do a map showcase. Most of this stuff is like % increased damage, so there's nothing really here that is too specific. When you're looking at these timeless jewels, make sure to grab at least one of the 5% chance to block spell damage, 10% chance to restore ward on block nodes. If you get an additional one, even if it's an attack block one, I would recommend taking it. Other than that, look for generic ward increases over here. And ward restoration time. They're all pretty good too. There's even another one up here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a map showcase, and then I'll go over the gear. The maps that I've been running, I've been doing this tree here. I'll put it on screen for a second so you can see what I've been doing. Essentially, it is Harvest along with Jun, and we have the settlers here to spawn some ores too, making bismuth spawn a little bit more often. Bismuth adds modifiers to monsters, so it'll just give us more juice in our maps. I'm not entirely sure if this applies to the monsters in Harvest or not. I don't think it does, but if it does, you know, it's extra free juice. Mostly just taking this so that way we can get some ore to send out some shipments in our town. Other than that, we're taking this node up here so we can run the exact same map every time we do an astrolabe, which you're going to want to do an astrolabe every time if you're doing the harvest strat. So we aren't doing crop rotation, we're doing the cornucopia scarab here to make at least 3 bosses in each map. Sometimes you get 2. If you get 2 bosses on one and one doesn't wilt, it's fine, it pays for itself and then some. And then the harvest scarab of doubling, so they will have 100% more life, including the bosses. So very juicy. And then just magic pack size, sacrifice fragment for some quant, and then since we're running betrayal, that 50% chance for reinforcements, so we can get those safe houses sooner. We are running 8 modded conqueror maps for these. I was doing destructive play before with the influence scarab of interference. If you want to do that, you can just take out these nodes up here and put them in a destructive play instead. But so for the map I'm showing off here, it's going to be 26% more monster life, 160%, 116% quant map, 44% pack size, no regen. Should be fine. The only mods I would say to watch out for, you can still do them, but they're a little tough with a lot of increased effect, are like the percent reduced chance to block and the reduced recovery. A lot of our ways to get health back come from recovery, so reduced recovery is doable, it's just a little bit tougher than no regen. No regen is pretty good. So we just run through here. Find our grove. Careful here with those.
My spirit is spent.
There we go. Problem with doing these is that sometimes the bosses take a little while to get up, but they will eventually go into here. Some take a little bit longer than others. Doesn't matter which one the cave is about kind of bad. Got two bosses here, so if this happens, just pick the one that's better. I believe blue is a little bit better at the moment. Pretty even either way. I'm going to take yellow just because we have some ready. And I think yellow and blue are both pretty close, so. Nice, and we'll get these double bosses every once in a while thanks to the tree. The yellow bosses are the only ones you really have to worry about if you don't have Chaos Res cap like me. I will be working on that as well, but the moment I don't have it, and I'm still fine, I can still do it. The only thing I would say probably don't do is maybe don't do Fortress. Trying to fight Katarina with negative 60 Chaos Res is not a fun time. Chaos Res cap though, you can pretty much do whatever content you want on this build. Figured this would be a good showcase, just because this is pretty much the highest health you're ever gonna have in mapping in the current version of the game. There are some things you can do that are a little bit spookier, but this is pretty damn close still.
I appreciate it. Choose what you wish.
We do more currency. I think Wild with Wisps is probably better, but I don't know. Got some chaos, it's worth it. I'm also pretty sure that the more currency does not apply to the Sacred Grove, but I'm not entirely sure. Doesn't seem like it does, at least. Bosses, even with 100% increased life, and then 38% more from the map itself, it's just dying instantly. Got two bosses there, nice. You don't need to really be picking these things up. I just like to collect uniques I don't already have. 2 bosses here. Nice thing about Mirage is that it does make up for these maps where you have things like that, where the 2 guaranteed bosses you get spawn on the same plot. Every once in a while you'll have them not. Well, if you ever get these, the ones that spawn underneath the boss names, pick those because they drop almost the same amount of life force as a boss. Like 700 each. And they drop those crystallized rancors.
My spirit is spent.
Really worried about anything here, so I'm just gonna pick everything up below. Go. My filter's kind of old. It's still the same filter I've had since League Start, so bear with me. These guys are annoying. Can't stand too close to them because of those chaos explosions, but it's still pretty easy to deal with. And just like that, Mirage is done.
Zara would not like these.
There's only one fate for the weak Exile.
Even my rhyme? You remind me why I left it.
Spirit is spent.
With your death, this nightmare may finally end. I'm better. Out! Molten One, save me from...
And that's about it. So, I mean, build's pretty strong. I guess I can go ahead and show you guys it while here. Let me go ahead. Pop all this junk in here. Let's just do like...
Greeting.
Be serious. 4 of these.
I'll place the listing.
I'll go ahead and show you one of these two.
Did you really think this would work?
Sirus is a little scary. He's probably one of the only ones that can hurt us a lot more. Having Mortal Call up does help with the storms damage, but the storms can still melt you kind of quick.
How
They're
boring
one of the
and
higher damage
small.
dots that we can't deal with super well.
You want the Atlas?
If I die in here, I'll
Take
show
it.
you. But
It's yours.
typically,
Oriath, I will burn
this man
to
will
the ground.
insta-phase most of the time.
Perhaps the suffering of my fellow citizens will finally stir something.
Be utterly annihilated. Obliteration!
What's this? A real challenge? You've finally caught my attention.
Alright.
This
Don't play like me and play dumb, and you'll be fine.
obliteration! Embrace nothingness. Be utterly annihilated. Rain of
The
stars!
others found strength in their projections. They became reliant on them. I'm not so foolish.
Why run? What's the point? Creation itself! Obliteration!
Is life really interesting enough to warrant all this pain?
What?
There you go.
Guilty! Crumble!
We're doing about 100 mil DPS, maybe a little bit less than that, maybe like 80 mil with this setup. I'm not using a bottled faith or a Rise Oak. If you want to, you can use both of those instead of these two flasks, and you'll get way more damage. But, I mean, the damage is enough. This is an Uber, he's insta-phasing. Really don't need it.
Creation itself!
The fun part. Go.
Fury of the cosmos!
Of death, my heart races.
Right.
I am alive.
There we go.
I am
Easy Uber Sirus. We'll just do this, it's a little bit faster. And that's about it. This boat can do pretty much whatever you want it to. Be careful of dots. And don't stand in them like a dummy like I did, and you'll be fine. I recommend the harvest farm, mostly just because that's what I've been doing, but you can do whatever you want with it. I did Legion with a little bit with a friend that was spec'd into Legion, and that worked just fine. Breach is what I started out with, and Breach was great, so really just whatever you feel like you can go ahead and do. Here, let's I do this, see what we get. 12%, not bad. Another 12% in here too. Oh, we did. What did we sell it for? 50.
Ah, the glint of gold
Yeah,
awaits.
that's it. So let's go ahead and go on to the gear here. I guess I'll start with the skills. So Static Strike is our main skill. Obviously, it's snapshotting that damage that we're getting from Celestial Mathematics, 25% of ward as flat cold damage. It breaks our ward on attack, so we can't just spam attack with it. We have to attack every time our ward is up, which we have a 0.9 second restoration time. So as long as we attack every 1 second, we can get that. But thanks to Static Strike, we only have to attack once, and then we can let it run for another 7.26 seconds with the duration scaling that we have right now. And then for that full 7.26 durations, those little beams that are coming out, the little zappies that you heard, those are going to be doing the same damage as the skill, minus it has like a 30% less damage multiplier tacked onto it. The quality of the skill affects its hit rate. It's pretty much the only way to scale the hit rate of this skill is the quality. So we're running Ashes, a 30% quality one, which ironically we Vol orbed into a 30%, tried to get over 30 but could not get over 30. For support gems on it, I'm using Inspiration. I think that is the best in slot 1. You can either do Inspiration, or if you hit Fortify, you can do Fortify on the gem and then use Inspiration itself. That might be a little bit better. Both are pretty comparable in damage. You can check it out in POB and see which one you like better, and whichever one you get. I guess you can't really pick and choose. And then increase crit damage, because we're 100% crit. So this is just free ton of damage. Hypothermia is amazing, tons more damage, and freeze chance, which we want freezes because we get the permanently increased damage taken up to 50% for frozen enemies, which is huge. Increased damage taken is a great multiplier to damage. It is fantastic. Note that is probably one of the strongest masteries damage wise in the build. Fortify, so we get that 20% DR, a little bit of more damage, and Greater Chain, which we didn't do during the Uber, but we do have a swap of Bone Chill here. You can honestly play with Bone Chill if you'd rather do the more damage, or if you're feeling like your damage isn't quite enough. Bone Chill is one of like the best damage supports you can use for it. Chain just feels really good for clear, so I would recommend honestly just using Chain and sticking to it, but so that's our main links, and we have that in our body armor, which is just a Conquest Lemelar with T1 armor evasion across the board. You can get this with dense fossils. Just spam single resonator dense fossils until you get them. What you can do is buy a high quality base, recombinate it with a high item level, and then upgrade the item level of the quality base. And then before you start fossil spamming, get some...
Yes.
Where are they? Orbs of Remembrance. Try to get... so what you'll do is you'll make this a normal base, you'll scour it, use one of these on it, and then try and get like 50 to 60 strands on it. And then once you have that on it, make it rare. There used to be a crafting bench option that did it without using up your strands, but it does use strands now, so just use an alch and hope it doesn't use a lot of your strands. If it does, just repeat the process, make it normal, and then use one of those orbs on it again until you have a rare with around 50 strands. And then while you're rolling for this with the dense fossils, if you hit like a double T1 and a T2, or a T1 and double T2, you can try and throw an Orb of Unraveling on it after clearing the suffixes, and that's actually how I got this one. I had double T1 and then T2 flat, and then I unraveled it up to triple T1. And then after that, you can pretty much craft the suffixes for free using the Eldritch crafting, like Eldritch Chaos or Eldritch Exalt and Annuls. But that's pretty much the same crafting process for all of these pieces of gear, to be honest. The only other thing is that with the helmet, boots, and gloves on 2 pieces, since you'll be dense fossil spamming on these, you want to look out for faster restoration of ward. We want at least 2 rolls of this to get the restoration down to 1 second and below. So just, I mean, either buy a base that has it on it already, or while you're dense fossil spamming, try to keep that. Typically, I would say if you're dense fossil spamming, try to dense fossil spam into either Dex and faster restoration of ward, or int and faster restoration of ward, and then either an open suffix or just another okay one. And then on one of your pieces of gear, you will want to have, I mean, obviously the helmet. Having flat accuracy is, I think you can get on gloves as well. One of these two, getting flat accuracy, is going to be very important because the build has very little ways to get accuracy without having to spend tree points. So that'll free up some points in the tree and get you accuracy capped so that you're hit capping and it doesn't feel clunky. As far as the boots, you can get triple res like I have here. I would recommend going for chaos res wherever you can. I'm obviously overcapped quite a bit on my resistances, especially if I were to use that wise oak like I mentioned before. So you have plenty of room to get rid of some of these reses. You don't need like double res on every piece of gear like I do here. The dex and int are important, though. You do need them to get up to your minimum requirements for a lot of your skills here, so make sure to watch out for that. In terms of gear, early on, you can use Valborn Skin of the Loyal. It gives 20% quality as socketed gems. Pre-Ashes of the Stars, they were pretty expensive early league. Now they're not so much, but if you maybe don't have the money for them and you can afford this instead, I would pick this up. I would use this until you get Yinda's Stand. Yinda's Stand is the essential for even making this body armor in the first place. This body armor doesn't do anything for your build until you get this belt, so until you get the belt, just use one of these. It'll give you more damage. It gives you quite a bit of ward too with that 100% increased global defenses. Definitely a very, very strong filler until you can get it. These rings here, if you can't get the double Fallborn with crit multi and global defenses, just look for a high global defenses one. Crit multi will give you more damage, but it's way more expensive and harder to find. There's less on the market that are available. As far as the weapon, 2 Paradoxicas, typically one with pen and crit chance is more common. People are mostly looking for the Chaos Res pen one. So this would be considered a failed, so like I bought this one for 4 Divines, which is around what just a basic Paradoxica was going for at the time. So this is what you need here. It gives you strength and int, it gives you base crit chance, which we don't need a lot of, but it does help us reach crit cap a lot easier without needing to get % crit anywhere else. Actually, thanks to this 50% crit from ambush. It gives us some crit multi, and then if you put that enchant on, it gives it a little bit more base crit. Frost Breath here, the Foulborn version specifically, has very high base crit. If you see here, it's actually higher than the Paradoxica with the enchant and the max rolled % increased crit chance on it. So it will have a higher base crit. The double damage is a little bit harder to proc because it only deals damage to chilled enemies, and if you don't have something like Chilling Presence that makes enemies around you chilled, you will have to hit an enemy, chill them, and then hit them again. So your first hit with Static Strike will typically not have double damage. You have to hit them and then hit them again to get the double damage proc. A little annoying, but it does work to get you double damage early, so that's why I recommend it. Cord belts are not very cheap. They're like 100 chaos, but it is a good filler belt. This is probably what I would recommend using because you can get an anoint for one of the accuracy nodes. That helps you get your accuracy capped super early on without having to worry about it. If you can't afford it, just do a Stygian Vise instead. And then pre-ashes, I would recommend using the anvil because it gives you a bunch of extra block chance. Sustain through the life on block and mana on block, some armor, block chance. Reduced attack speed doesn't really matter because we're a one attack and go build anyways, and the reflect doesn't really do anything. It's just kind of there. A good cheap one to have. The anoint is super cheap too. Safeguard, we actually use that in the end here too because it gives us 10% spell block. The energy shield when you block doesn't really matter, but the 10% spell block is really nice. 3% max block we're not really taking advantage of. We're at 75. You could, if you wanted to, get 3% block on another jewel, and then you would be at the 78%. But it's not really any point doing that when it would make it harder to get other stuff. As far as implicits, getting some spell block on your body armor is really nice. Helps you get up to that spell block cap. Crit multi for attack damage obviously is a ton of damage. Cold pen, reduced cost of attacks is nice. There might be a better one to use than reduced cost of attacks once you have your mana freed up here like this, but I think it's pretty solid either way. If you want to go for something else for the Searing Exarch one, you definitely can. Don't spend tons and tons of chaos trying to roll for that. I know how hard it can be to roll for specific modifiers sometimes on those. For the gloves, do the freeze spread, and then exerted attacks deal 21% increased damage. The reason we do that, we're not running war cries. This actually counts as an exert. So we just get an extra 21% damage, and that applies to the whole duration of the skill as well. That's snapshots for static strike. So for the boots, increased cooldown recovery rate of travel skills. You could do increased cooldown recovery rate, but all the skills that we use that it matters for are travel skills. So like phase run, I guess ambush, that's pretty much it. And then the increased effect of your stone golems is really nice. As far as the other link setups, we have the automation for phase run and enhance, and we have chain hook, our rage gen. Immortal Call is linked to transfusion, which is like just a better life tap. It has half the cost and reservation multiplier. And then cast on ward break. Cast on ward break gives the linked spells 5% cooldown recovery rate per 100 ward we have, but just under 29k ward, they have basically free cooldowns. 0.21 on Immortal Call, 0.07 Assassin's Mark. It's as long as it's below the 0.9 seconds for ward restore, it really doesn't matter. And then same thing over here, we have cast on ward break for our ambush. That's how we were teleporting, and Hydra Sphere, so that way there's not an enemy there, we can hit it and then proc our static strike.
Just like that, we're a little bit richer.
And then everything else is pretty much there. The only thing left to talk about is the auras. I guess we've got Tempest Shield to get our spell block. We get immunity to shock. Precision gives us crit chance. That's pretty much all the percent crit chance we need in the entire build, other than one set of nodes in the tree. A bunch of flat accuracy, really good for us. Get this as high as you can, as quick as you can. Herald of Ice. Until we have our immunity to chill and freeze from the Pantheon and boots, I would use Purity, and then just use these nodes here. And once you can drop that, just throw on Herald of Ice and you'll have a bunch of extra mana. And that's about it. Everything. As far as flasks, the reason I'm using hybrids is for the no regen maps. Quicksilver for move speed. You can swap this out for the Wise Oak. This gives you 8% LE pen as long as your cold res is the highest. Increased by the 70% effect, obviously. And reduced damage taken of each element for your uncapped, which would be cold in that case. And you can use a Bottled Faith instead of a regular Sulfur Flask. I find the Sulfur Flask with the chance to gain a crit on a charge on crit is a little bit cozier, especially with the 3% regen for like when you're doing the harvest bosses and stuff, because they take a long time to kill and then they have a bunch of ads spawning and ground effects. Just nice to have that extra 3% regen on top of it. But if you want more damage, you can definitely get it there. I'll add those in the POB so you can see both options. Yeah, that's about it. As far as jewels, we got the Impossible Escape here. Getting the nodes over here. And Light of Meaning, 6% cold damage. Unnatural Instinct giving us 126% cold damage and all of these other effects. It is beautiful. We've got our Watcher's Eye has increased attack damage while affected by precision. It's the only thing that really matters on it. Cannot be blinded as whatever. Accuracy Jewel. And then over here we've got 2 jewels to give us spell block. This one gives us our Corrupted Blood immunity and crit multi and damage. This one just gives crit multi, damage, int, spell block. All good. All these tattoos are 5% melee damage, except for this one gives us our leech. And these 3 are all global tattoos. You can probably do some more stuff with tattoos. That's about it. That's what I've gotten so far. As far as rune graphs, we're using Fortress for the 40% global defenses. You don't need it. It's very expensive. Just get it whenever you can get it. This would probably be like one of the later upgrades. It gave me like 2,500 ward, so it is worth it. But if it spikes or if there's none available and it's just too hard to get, don't worry about it. And the gain 3 rage when you use a life flask does work with hybrid flasks. So if you lose mana but you're still full life and you use your hybrid flask, it'll give you the 3 rage still. So I found that pretty nice. Probably don't need it now that I'm using Chain Hook Atrarchus, but it's whatever. 1 extra point. It's free. So that is the build. Yeah. It's probably the strongest, the tankiest I've felt on a ward stacker this early in the league. Probably tankiest ever, I'd say. Strongest wise, I'd say the Cobra Lash stacker and the Dual Strike of Ambidexterity are both a lot quicker and higher damage, but they fall over to pretty much anything. You get a paper cut, they die. A light breeze and they'll blow away. So definitely like this take on it. Let me know what you think, and if you try it out, let me know how it goes. Yeah, hopefully the Yindas don't keep shooting up into the sky and you get some good ones. It'll be fun to see if somebody gets like a 70% Yindas at some point in the league. That'd be fun to see. Some nice aspirational content. But shout out to Jungrown for selling me mine when I needed it on day 2 for 6 div. You are a goat. Thank you very much. And that's the end of the video. See ya.